Episode 2. We are back. A bit of a delay in getting this one out. I think it's actually been 2 weeks since I recorded the last one, and I'm annoyed at that already because I said I was going to do one every week. But I am going to use it, but I was away on holiday. My dad turned 70 recently. So me, my 2 brothers and my sister, we all went away on holiday for a week. And that is the first time I've been on holiday, which seems weird to say because I never really feel like I'm working because, it's such a cliche thing to say. Can't believe I'm going to say it, but I kind of love what I do. So it doesn't really feel like work for a lot of it. Interestingly, because the social media, the posting on Instagram and things like that took a while to get used to. And I like the pursuit of trying to get better at it, but it is hard, and that was a hard transition. But this I really enjoy because I think, as anyone who's knows me well would know, if I get an opportunity to chat to you about training and nutrition, mindset, or anything that's kind of deep and thoughtful, you often will get 20 minutes into a conversation and be thinking, holy shit, when is this guy going to draw breath? So yeah, this one has been delayed because I'm using the excuse of the fact that I was on holiday and it was my first time. So I think I just need to get a bit better at planning ahead. Or also, I'm going to go on holiday again next week, but I'm going to record an episode out there. An episode, it feels fun calling it an episode. And I'm actually going to try and record a second one this week. So this is last week's. Then I'm going to record another one for this week. And I'll probably put them out a few days apart. And then one next week I'll try and film while I'm away. So there'll be a different scene for that. I'll try and get a nice backdrop. I'm going to a nice place in Corfu with a nice view. So I'll try and get that involved. It's amazing. I've already been wittering away for 2 minutes and we haven't even got into what we're chatting about today. So I mentioned last time I was going to talk about the entitlement towards being able to eat what you want. And when I've been thinking about it, I've come up with 2 sides of this that I quite like the idea of. So I haven't really got an answer for many of these things I talk about. I don't really have an answer, but I like to just talk it through. Especially, there are some things I just really like to talk through because I don't think there is an answer, but in talking things through, I can get you to think about it differently and have maybe your opinion challenged. I personally feel like the older I've got, and I have learned to respect myself more for this, is that although I have my opinions and my opinions are strong, and I won't necessarily share them too often, but when I do, I really will feel them strongly. I'm more than happy to change my opinion based on new information because I feel like you form your opinion based on your experiences up to that date. So had I been in different circumstances up until this very point in time, I may think about things very differently. So it seems ridiculous for me to hold my opinion in too high regard because any new bit of data that I get, any new bit of lived life I get could challenge that. But for today, the 2 sides of it is, so I said, why do you think do you not think in many ways it comes across as a certain level of entitlement to think that you can eat whatever you want? I said one really partially there. In terms of the fact of something I hear really often is, I need to be able to feel like I can eat something sweet at the end of the day. And I think the tricky thing about that is we have access to pretty much any food you want to eat. So we really have to make the choice not to eat things or to eat in a certain way. But people in poorer areas, for example, I know it's the classic example people use, but people starving in Africa, they don't really get the choice of whether they want to have a Magnum because there are no Magnums. They've just got to eat what they are given. But in thinking that, what I got thinking about was the fact that on one side of the coin, we've got people, I'd posed the question of, do you not think it's entitled to say that you're a person who needs to have sweet things, or it usually is sweet things, but you need to have room for there to be whatever you want in your diet. But the flip side of that is it not entitled to eat in a very stereotypical like bodybuilder way? Not that that's something I would promote, but only eating mince and rice and never eating anything else. There's kind of like an entitlement to that as well, because, in different circumstances, there may not be those food options. You would just have to eat with what's presented to you. And it's interesting. And now that I'm talking about this a bit more, I'm really sitting here thinking, what's kind of the point in this? And there really is no point. There's no solution. There's no point of it at all. But it just was an interesting thought process to think about the fact that, we sit there thinking about how I need to, yes, I understand what I need to eat in order to get leaner and be healthier, but I need to be able to have my insert whatever the thing is something I hear so often. And do you really need that? Are we using food maybe as a tool for something else? Well, the answer probably more often than not is yes. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. The joy that you can get from food is amazing. And I think I've mentioned before, when I did my 24-hour fast, gosh, I speak about it like it was some kind of amazing thing. I just wanted to chew things, so I can really so if I just sat there wanting to chew something, I can appreciate someone being like, I literally just want a square or two of chocolate at the end of the day. But I think you just need to watch out for saying what you need something, because I don't know, I just had my eyes open recently to entitlement across whatever it may be. Do you really need it, or can you make do with what you got? But yeah, I feel like I could have made that point far better. But we live and we learn. Hopefully next time I try and articulate that, I'll have a better point on it. But swiftly moving on, hopefully you're still hanging about. I have got an interesting bit to talk about now. Someone asked me recently what I struggled with, or if there was something I did struggle with. And I sort of thought on it for a bit, and I was like trying to think of the classic training, nutrition things I struggle with. And I was thinking to myself, kind of, not really, no, I couldn't think of anything. And then suddenly I was like, do you know what? Something I've spoken about in the past. I'm not sure if I've really shared it on social media at all, but it's something I've spoken about to people around me, is I describe myself as having this line. And the line is a level of leanness that I'm at. And for the purposes, if you're watching this, or if you're just listening, I'm holding my hand out and I'm imagining anything below the line is the fatter side that I get, and anything above the line is the leaner side. So as I go from the fatter side of my line towards the line, as I get leaner up into the line, I feel generally better, in terms of not better because I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm getting leaner, more veins are showing, you can see my abs better. I'm just generally feeling more athletic. My performance in the gym tends to creep up with that when that happens. And all in all, I generally just feel better up to the line. And when I get to the line, it's amazing because I feel really good. I'm aware of the fact that I'm leaner, but I pay much less attention to my body. It is like I generally walk around the house not wearing much. And, if I walk past the mirror and I see myself, I'm not like looking at it going, oh, my pecs are looking bigger or whatever. I just kind of see my body and that's it. When I'm on this kind of fatter side of that line, I might look at my body and go, oh, I could probably get a bit leaner, because I know where my line is, if that makes sense, but it doesn't overly consume me. But what happens is I get to this line, and if I'm not careful, because generally speaking, I like training. Actually, I'm going to come on to chat about that in a sec. But because I train so often, and because I generally like eating a fairly clean diet, I train a lot, I eat well, you can start to get leaner. But the trouble is, once I cross the line into the leanness section, all I can think about is, oh my God, I want to get leaner. I want to get bigger. I want to get leaner. I want to get bigger. And I become really aware of how my body looks. And then all the things that I encourage people not to do, which is I always encourage people to be very balanced in their diet. Take, if there's a nice pudding on and they're out for a meal and they want to get it. Just factor it into your calories in and around that week. Whether you're tracking or not, just maybe eat a bit less the day building up to that meal, eat a bit less the day after, that kind of thing. And I'm very much trying to move people away from not eating carbs because carbs are necessary to fuel. And as I've mentioned many times before, where calories and protein are matched, your fat and carb split in terms of your macros has literally no difference on your body composition. Performance may change, and there is the concern of if you drop fat too low, it has hormone impacts, but body composition wise, there's no difference. So anyway, I start getting to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm going to reduce the amount of carbs I'm having, and I'm not going to eat any of these sweet things. And then generally speaking, I start getting leaner and leaner, and it just kind of, my body image starts weighing on my mind loads. And it's something I've known has existed, but generally that is something I do struggle with, is sticking at my line. And I wonder if everyone has their line. I think your line moves depending on where you're at in your life. I imagine once you have kids and you're busy with work, maybe your line comes down a bit and you get used to being slightly less lean, but it is a really nice place for you to sit. I suppose the line would be the perfect place you sit at where you're eating well, you're training hard, but it's not becoming more than it needs to be in your life, if that makes sense. So that's generally something I've been struggling a bit with. Is I think I got the leanest I've probably ever been, not through trying, but then I became aware of that, and it's like I don't want to let go of it. But if I am a big proponent of giving the advice I give to people is what I would take myself, and I need to not just preach, I need to practice. So that is something I am working on and will work on in the coming weeks. When I go on holiday again, I'll be making sure to eat these, I don't know the name of them, but they're like, cannoli is a type of pastry where it's like really crunchy and it's filled with chocolate. It's not those. It's like halfway between that and a croissant. So it's like got the shell of a croissant almost, but quite crunchy and filled with like this chocolate cream. And they sell them in one of the shops near where we're staying. And I fucking love them. With a cup of coffee, they just hit the spot. So, and this is a real case example. If I'm too far the wrong side of the line, I won't eat those. But in trying to not be a hypocrite, and they are like my favorite thing to eat, I'll be making sure I eat plenty of them when I'm away on holiday. So, that was what I was going to come back to. So I mentioned training earlier, and I was going to say, I enjoy training. And I say that quite often. And I suppose to some extent I do. So the session I did today, I get programming. I am more than capable of writing my own program. But I'm also a big believer in the fact that if I program myself, my own biases creep in. So I will write stuff for myself that I want to do as opposed to stuff that I should do. And also what I found was when I did start doing it, it was quite time consuming, and I felt I should be putting the time I was putting into programming myself into my clients instead. So I decided to keep following this program I followed in the past. It's a CrossFit-based program called Sentinel Training. And the session today was alternating minutes for an EMOM. So EMOM is just an acronym for every minute on the minute. On minute 1, you did a single back squat, and on minute 2, you did a single deadlift. And then you went back squat, deadlift for 30 minutes. So 15 reps of each. And it was supposed to be an RP9. So I think I ended up doing it between like 80 to 90% of my 1 rep maxes. And it was tough. But a session like that, it's not really, there's a bit of thought in a squat, but in a deadlift, there's not much thought. It's just see weight, man hold weight, man stand. It's a term I think I get cancelled for using, but fuck it. Mong strength is what I call it, just like real neck down stuff. And in training like that, I love. But, go and give me some fucking burpees to do. And no one wants to do burpees. When I was away on holiday, we did a workout with my girlfriend. We did 20 minutes, every minute 10 burpees. And with my foot being cut and a little sore, I was quite slow getting up off the floor, is the excuse I'm going to use. It was nothing to do with my fitness. But that was just like a boring slog. Like no one enjoys that. But afterwards, I feel good. So because I feel good after and I see it as a necessity, I say I enjoy it. But training, what I'm trying to get across to people at the moment is training doesn't need to be enjoyable. It is a necessity. It's like, do you enjoy brushing your teeth? If you enjoy brushing your teeth, you're a fucking freak because it's boring. Now, I'll give it to you that when I was a fucking legend and I used to drink loads of VKs, if you're not sure what a VK is, it's like, surely, if you've not heard of a VK, you'll surely have heard of WKD. What do they call them? Like, I want to call it Alka-Pops, if that's what they call them. Anyway, you used to drink loads of them on a night out, not brush your teeth because you pass out. And your teeth the next morning would feel so furry from all the sugar. And when you brush your teeth after that, it felt kind of nice. But any other time than that, I just don't understand it's just fucking boring. I always talk about brushing my teeth because it's just the perfect example. It's so necessary to do. And, a little bit daily goes a long way. But it's boring and it doesn't matter whether you like it or not, you got to do it. And I very much see training the same way. A lot of the time, you will just find it boring. You won't want to go. Whether you go before or after work changes nothing. Before work, you'll be tired and be like, oh, can't be arsed. After work, you'll be like, oh, I'm tired, I can't be arsed. But I suppose maybe if you can go see friends after work, there's a social element to being in the gym. But all in all, I think that, God, I'm so easily distracted. A message came through there. Mm-hmm. Training is, oh my goodness, I need to make sure I keep my phone away from me in the future. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is training is just necessary and you won't enjoy it. So you've just got to go and get it done. But as soon as you start being consistent, you will start to enjoy it. So for example, when my back squat started going up, and in case you haven't heard me mention it, which I'm sure you have because I fucking mention it all the time, I squatted 200 kilos. That was cool, which meant I loved squatting in the build up to that. And then since then, I now love squatting because I feel strong. So you go through times where you really like certain parts of your training. Maybe you notice that your shirt feels a little bit tighter in the right places and you're like, damn, my arms are getting bigger. So you really enjoy any arm sessions you've got in. But what I'm trying to constantly remind people is, like, you don't need to enjoy it. And I think it's, some people out there maybe think that you do enjoy it or you do need to enjoy it to do it, but you don't. Training, it has to become the backbone of what we do because training just allows us to be a better person. All these great, like, historical figures, I suppose they would be historic figures, wouldn't they? Loads of them, I don't know whether they trained or not, but I assume they didn't because it was back in day. But I bet they would have been performing even better than they did if they got themselves training every day. It's such a strong belief that I have, is that training is the base to everything. Now, I'm not sure how much anyone's from CrossFit's going to listen to this. I was just thinking about the sharing CrossFit principles is a bit of a grey area maybe. But the base of CrossFit has this training pyramid. And the reason I mention CrossFit a lot is I'm a CrossFit trainer. I coached like nearly 1,000 hours of classes. And It's the way I like to train now. It's just really time efficient and kind of pulls everything I like to do together. But the base of their pyramid is nutrition. And I do think nutrition is really important. You know, the classic saying goes, abs are made in the kitchen. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But for me personally, training needs to come first, because who wants to make better food choices without training there in the first place? So training starts forming our backbone, and then from there we start layering on top the nutrition. Because the example I used the other day was, let's say on a Monday, for a few weeks in a row, you have these brutal rowing intervals. And last week, you're not aware of how you felt, but they were hard. Anyway, today, Monday, you felt really rough today because at the weekend you're at a wedding and you had a few too many glasses of wine, and there was, I don't know, chips came out at 10 o'clock and you ate loads of chips. You finish your rowing intervals and you're like, oh, I feel crap today. And you think to yourself, oh, maybe I wonder if the food I ate over the weekend had an impact on how I felt in that session. So next Monday, building up to your rowing intervals over the weekend, you go, do you know what? I'm gonna try and drink a little less this weekend, and I'm gonna try and eat a little bit better. So you go do your rowing intervals, and lo and behold, you feel better during them, and you get like better. I don't know if you're rowing, let's say 500 meter repeats, and you're doing faster times, but you're feeling better doing it as well. You'd be like, fucking hell, I feel loads better making those nutrition changes. Oh, I'm gonna try to do that again for tomorrow's session. And for me, that is what happens. It's a little cycle like that. You make a small change, you notice the impact, and then you go again and you go again. And that is why I think training needs to be the backbone, because I think it's really hard to try and start changing your nutrition without the training in place to begin with. The training almost becomes your inverted commas why. And the nutrition is there to kind of supplement it and make it feel more worthwhile. Excuse me, I seem to have a little bit of a throat tickle. Now, there were other things I wanted to discuss today, but I got my main point across. I mentioned the things I was struggling with, and I don't want to waffle any more than I have. So although this has been a fairly short episode, I kind of got through the bits I wanted to discuss, and I'm going to sit and do a little bit more planning before I do my next episode. For this episode, I got my lighting sorted to try and get the same aesthetic as last time. Obviously, if you're listening, it means no difference. Oh, that reminds me. If you watched last time, you might have noticed that the camera quality wasn't great. So I used a streaming software, and although I didn't stream it live, I saved. How do I explain this? So if you live stream, even though my camera films in 4K, if I live stream, you need special cables and special setups in order to stream in 4K. I don't have those because they are expensive, and I don't know if my content is quite at that level yet. Sorry. So if I do a live stream, it will be in 1080p. So it's still HD, it's just not the best quality. Now, because I filmed last time through the streaming app and then saved through there, the quality was in 1080. Whereas this time, I'm not plugged into my streaming app. I'm just filming through my camera. So the quality should be far better. So if you watched last time and thought it was shit quality, hopefully this time it's a much, much better quality. But yeah, so for this episode, I was like, shit, all day I've been thinking it would be good to get another episode done because I am behind and I promised I wouldn't be. And I just kind of turned on the camera, and that's why maybe you hear me talking a bit in circles, because I'm just kind of thinking and talking as I go. For the next episode, I'm going to try and be a bit more chronological, maybe make a list and go through it. If you do listen to this and you have any particular things you want me to talk about, please let me know. Message me on Instagram. I tend to see most of the messages I get on Instagram. And what else I was going to say was, yes, quite a few people sent me really nice messages after listening to the first one. So if you're listening to the second one and you sent me a message, you know who you are. So thank you. That actually was cool. I opened up far more than I really was expecting, but I still think I kept it quite reserved because I'm not very good at talking about things, even though I would encourage people themselves to talk about things, because generally speaking, I think that helps process it better. For me, that was enough of an open up to hopefully make you appreciate the circumstances and maybe form some kind of connection to me, which was what some people said, which was cool. It makes it feel really worthwhile, even if I just get one person listening and saying that they enjoyed listening and they kind of connected to my story, I suppose. So yeah, I'm sorry this episode has been a bit all over the place. I told myself that I'm never allowed to edit these. Like, strictly speaking, the way I've recorded this now, I could go in and, like I would with a YouTube video, I'd go and chop it up, take out the bits where I've waffled and maybe refilm certain bits, that kind of thing. But I want these to be really like as if you're in the room with me now. And I suppose long-term goals, I'd love to get it to the point where I could sit in a room with one of my mates and shoot the shit, and you can just be there having a conversation with us. But yeah, one step at a time. Get this one out. I'll get another one out this week and we'll go from there. But yeah, so it's Monday today. I'll see if I can get this posted today. Whenever you listen to this, make sure you get your training done today and go get it. I need to think of a better ending. Bye. Fuck me.